Welcome back, mammals. Today I have a truly strange and gruesome tale for you all. We're going to be taking a look at a set of bizarre killings that happened in India, an event that ended up being called the Wolves of Pavagada. And as a disclaimer, I just want to say this will involve discussing the deaths of children. So if you're not really into that, I have other videos you can check out. My most recent upload being about aliens, a nice in-depth dive. It's a really good watch. I suggest giving it a go. But for the rest of you that are sticking around, let's get into it. As I said, these killings took place in India, specifically in the state of Karnataka, in and around the town village area of Pavagada. Now, not all the killings happened there. However, because of the area in which the killings happened, I guess they went with that area as the namesake for the event. April 29th, 1983, in Dasharmanahalli, I believe it's a village, a 5-year-old was outside playing in the evening when she was attacked and taken. Her mother, the only witness, described seeing a large, dog-like beast taking her daughter. Now, unfortunately, in about a day or so later, when searches were conducted, all was found was some bloody clothing from the girl, some hair, some ribs, and some viscera. She did not survive. With what the witness described, police officials and forestry officials had assumed that either a wolf or hyena had attacked the girl and taken her. May 8th, 1983, in the village of Bhopur, a little ways north of the last place, a 3-year-old girl was in her backyard playing in the evening when she was attacked. Her mother was present and helped her fight off the attacker. They were both injured, but they both survived. This attacker was described as a wolf by both the mother and the 3-year-old. That same night, about a mile from where this 3-year-old was attacked, in Bamagangali, a 9-month-old was taken from her bed in her home by somebody or something, and the parents were not awoken and did not realize till the following day. Unfortunately, their searches yielded nothing, and one of the family members, the grandmother, when she was out searching about a mile or so near the home, she reported seeing a striped donkey-like animal disappear into the woods, and we'll get into more of that later. May 15th, 1983, in Kainvanahalli, another village about 3 miles from Pavagada, a 2-year-old was taken in the night from her bed while she was sleeping next to her mother. Now, her mother had described feeling some kind of animal walking past her legs, but in the pitch black of the night, she was unable to see what was there, and she wasn't able to find her daughter after experiencing this. So whatever came in snatched her daughter and was able to get out of there before anybody realized. Now, being a rural area in the 80s in India, there weren't exactly any street lights, and houses didn't exactly, well, not a lot of the houses had electricity. And if they did, you didn't really have like a lamp nearby. It was more of a one light that illuminated the whole room. The following day, unfortunately, only bits of torn clothing and a severed leg of the child was found. May 23rd, 1983, a 3-year-old was attacked and killed in her home while she was sleeping at night. I couldn't find any other information on this. It was related to the rest of the killings, but I couldn't find anything else specific, anything about body parts being found or any animal tracks around the home. It was the only kill that I found that actually happened in Pavagada. By this point, police and government officials were convinced that some man-eating animal was coming through the area and taking these children. Now, the government had offered a reward of 2,000 rupees for the deaths of the killer animal or animals, which in today's rupees is about 34,000, and that converted to USD is about $410. Just a little bit of fun information for you. The people around Pavagada had gone into the forest and hills, combing the area for any specifically wolves or hyenas, and they culled the population pretty severely, to the point where people started feeling more safe because the attacks had stopped, so they figured they got the animal that was causing this. Now, a couple weeks went by, and the killings started again. The last killing happened July 26th, 1983. A 3-year-old girl was sleeping in the same bed as her parents, in a room with her siblings and family dogs. Somehow, this person or animal managed to enter the room and take the child without alerting anybody. Not the animals, not the people. And it wasn't until they were outside when the girl let out a cry that woke the parents and the family members, to where the mother checked beside her, couldn't feel the baby, and panic ensued. Unfortunately, the following morning, only some ripped clothing and viscera were found of the girl, and some dog tracks, or rather animal tracks. The reports don't exactly specify. Government officials were called in with their own dog teams to try to track down this beast, and they followed the tracks into some hills at a cave that was apparently sealed up by bricks, which, in that case, I guess they saw that and decided, all right, no further investigations, we found nothing. They didn't try looking around to see if there's any other way into the cave, or maybe take out some of those bricks and check inside. At least from everything that I could find, they kind of just gave up at that point. Sealed cave, nothing to see here, let's move on. After this, more animal killings were conducted, and after so much time passed and there were no more killings, it was again assumed that everything was done and finished. In the 3 months from when the killing started at the end of April to when they stopped at the end of July, exactly 5 children were killed. There were some really strange things about each of the killed kids. They were all young girls, as you may have noticed. And as you also may have noticed, they were all either 5 years old or younger. All of them were also apparently the only daughters the parents had, and most of them were taken in their sleep, aside from one. And all these attacks happened at night, or in the late evening. And with the case of the sleeping children, there was no sign of a struggle with the child fighting their attacker or abductor, and there was no evidence of drag marks, and the occasional discovery of paw prints, either at the body seen later or around the house that night. From the beginning, the culprits of these attacks and killings were assumed to be at least one of 2 animals, which I did not even know up until doing this video that these 2 animals were even present in India. The 2 animals, of course, being the Indian wolf and the striped hyena. The Indian wolf, when I first saw a photo of this animal, I thought it looked like a weird coyote. And fun fact, they're descendants of gray wolves. They just don't have as much fur, since they live in a warmer climate, and they're also a bit smaller. These guys weigh in between 37 to 55 pounds, depending on the sex. Males tend to be larger. They have a max length of almost 5 feet, and a little over 2 feet in height at the shoulder. They are nocturnal predators. They are social and tend to be in packs of up to 8 members, but they could also be found alone. They will hunt many different animals, such as antelope, deer, rabbits, rodents, and livestock. They have a tendency of targeting the sick or weak, and they also have this interesting hunting strategy of having one of their members distract the prey while other members come in from behind and go for the kill. Pretty cool if you ask me. Now, they do have a history of preying on people, especially children, and they can lift the child in their jaws and carry them off, especially when it comes to children 5 or younger. Then we have the striped hyena, weighing in between 49 to 121 pounds, with a max length of about 5.5 feet and about a 2.5 foot height at the shoulder. They're also nocturnal. However, they tend to be solitary animals, or sometimes they can be found in pairs. They are more so scavengers, eating dead animals, but do take down live prey on occasion, especially livestock, when they can. They're typically shy around humans and avoid them and their homes, but they also have a history of attacking people, including sleeping children. Now we can notice a couple similarities. When we look at the size of the animals, the hyena is a bit bulkier than the Indian wolf, but in terms of length and height, there's not too much difference. They're both also nocturnal, and they have a tendency of preying on people. And another fun fact I learned while researching these animals is apparently sometimes striped hyenas can be seen hunting with Indian wolves. Pretty interesting if you ask me. Now, some of the things I mentioned certainly can point towards wolves or hyenas being responsible for these killings. And if you remember, one of the witnesses had described seeing a striped donkey-like animal, which hyenas kind of maybe at a distance could look like a donkey with the face a little long and their big ears, and they are striped, so perhaps the witness saw a hyena running off into the woods. I have no details on how close the witness was to the hyena when this happened, or rather to the striped donkey-looking animal when this happened. And if you also recall, the 3-year-old girl that was attacked with her mother that survived described being attacked by a wolf. And then, of course, you had the mother who said she saw a dog-like beast taking her daughter, which, if we're being honest, a dog-like beast could be describing a wolf or a hyena. Paw tracks were described to be seen at some of the scenes. And if we look at the paw tracks for both the animals, you can see that it's kind of hard to tell which is which. And in my research, every time there was a mention of paw tracks being at a crime scene or being around where parts of a body were, there's never a mention of if the tracks are of a dog, of a wolf, of a hyena. And looking at the hyena tracks and the wolf tracks, you can't really tell. To the untrained eye, looking at these pictures, I couldn't tell, not that I'm any kind of trained expert. I want you to take a guess. What do you think? Which is which? You can even pause the video if you want a minute to think about it. The hyena track is on my right. The wolf track's on my left. Aside from a slight size difference, you can't really tell too much apart. So as for these killings potentially being a wolf or a hyena, it could honestly be either of them, or maybe it was a combination of the both. Who knows? As much as animal attacks could be a great explanation, it doesn't change the fact that, the victims were all young girls. And when you think about it, the area has a higher male population than female population. So statistically, you'd expect at least maybe 3 of the victims to at least be boys. Is it a coincidence that they all happen to be children? Maybe not. Say a hyena or wolf enters your home, looks around, maybe sees a small child and thinks, I can easily grab him and take him out. And if you're wondering about, none of these kids making noises when they get snatched, it's entirely possible that the bite force of the wolf or the hyena could crush the child in a way where they can't get a word out. They're just kind of dead instantly and then carried out. It's not really something I want to think about. Not everyone accepted animals as the proper explanation for these killings. Some suspected tantrics, people who are believed to use black magic, and it was also assumed that these people apparently committed sacrifices to the goddess Kali. Kali being the goddess of destruction, creation, power, and death. And interestingly enough, Kali also used wolves as a mount, or vahana. The Madakshira region, which separates Pavagada from the rest of the state of Karnataka, was believed to be full of black magic users. So maybe they were coming into the Pavagada area to abduct children for their ritualistic purposes. Rituals in this kind of black magic were used to either gain power or to curse other people. And I even found in my research that there are people that would seek out tantrics to either help them get through difficult times or to, say, prevent other people from cursing them, or people would use them to curse other families or other people. And like psychic mediums in the US, or rather in the Western world, 99% of the time they're probably full of crap and they're just scamming people. The theory that tantrics had abducted these girls does kind of hold up with what we have. Seeing that all the victims were young girls, 5 or under, it kind of points towards maybe people targeting these young girls specifically, and maybe whatever dark rituals they're performing requires young girls. Though it'd be very risky to go and try to abduct children from their homes, especially when you have to sneak into the home and family members are sleeping in the same room. I imagine it'd be very difficult. Another thing that helps hold up this theory is the fact that the killings stopped, then started again, then stopped again, about when they were getting at their height. Essentially, when more police presence was involved and more people were out searching and staying on high alert, say after the first 4 killings, then maybe the killings stopped because the killer or killers wanted the heat to die down, and then maybe they happened upon an opportunity and took it, and this just upped the heat again, and the killings probably stopped completely in that area because potentially the killers or killer left the area to go hunting somewhere else. Of course, all the information we have is only for this one area. We don't know any outside areas if they experienced anything similar. And in my searching, I couldn't find anything else. Maybe the fact that they were all young girls was a coincidence. I mean, being taken at night while you're sleeping does kind of fit the operations of the hyena or wolf, but it could also fit a person. I'm really unsure exactly as to what took these kids. And as time went on, some people even threw in that maybe it was werewolves. Kind of combines that man and beast into one. I mean, it could explain people seeing tracks of animals and large dog-like beasts, and also the way kids are abducted in their sleep. Maybe instead of getting snatched up and killed instantly, maybe somebody is gently picking them up and carrying them out. I mean, if you're a tired child and you're getting picked up by somebody, you're not really going to be concerned as to who's picking you up. You're probably still going to be trying to get your sleep. In all my research, I did find one instance where a man claimed, or rather, the article I read claimed that one of the kids, when they were taken, the father pursued the attacker, and it happened to be some kind of wolf that ended up throwing stones at the father to repel him while it made its escape with the child. That same article didn't really go into detail about it, didn't specify, and also, if you're trying to steal away a child, I mean, are you really able to also chuck stones at somebody? And I mean, how hard were these stones being thrown to where a father trying to save their kid would be deterred by it? To me, it doesn't really add up, and I feel like it was just an added detail. In my research, I did find other details that didn't really make sense. Even the articles themselves contradicting what they wrote. For example, in the 3-month span, we know for a fact that 5 children died. And while I did give dates as I went through everything, not all the articles had the same dates, and they kept giving conflicting days. But what I did find that was consistent was that 1 death did happen at the end of April, 3 deaths did happen in May, and the last death happened after a break in July. Despite all the conflicting specific dates, that did stay consistent. I also found some articles that were saying that as many as 7 to 11 children died, or that they weren't all children, some of them were people, but then I don't know how they would be grouped in with something like this. And then I also found that some articles said 5 to 7 months had gone by where all these killings had happened. However, all of these articles that mention these extra months and extra killings only ever focused or spoke about the 5 specific killings that I talked about in this article. So I don't know exactly where they're getting the extra deaths or the extra time frame. I mean, one article literally said it was in a 7th-month time span, and yet they said the first killing happened in April and the last happened in July. That's not 7 months. This was truly a strange, unsolved case to cover. And in my personal opinion, I think maybe a combination of animals and a single person were responsible for all these deaths. Maybe a person had taken advantage of the fact that some people were being killed in mysterious ways, probably by animals, and used it as a way to conduct their own nefarious things. However, I don't believe black magic rituals were involved. But I would like to know what you guys think down in the comments. I can't say I hope you enjoyed this video because there's nothing enjoyable talking about the deaths of children, but I hope you at least learned something, could take something away from this video. And if you could, drop a like, maybe subscribe if you're new, check out some of my other videos. It really helps the channel. And until next time, mammals, I'll see you in the next one.